Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and get started this evening. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you everybody for joining this evening. Appreciate it. We're going to record this, so for anybody who wasn't able to make it tonight, they can watch the meeting at their leisure. Let me go ahead and close that out. Okay, let me go ahead and let me just share the presentation for this evening. Okay. Can everybody see that? Great.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
perfect.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Um, well, again, thanks everybody for joining this evening and appreciate your patience with all the changes to the meeting date with the county closures and everything. Um, I will tonight, our agenda is to go over the revised vision statement and the revised guiding principles. I'll do that this evening. That shouldn't take too much time. And then the bulk of the meeting will be spent on the draft scenarios that we've put together. And Nick Martin Nazi with Smith Group will be going over those with us this evening. So with that. Really quickly, I just kind of wanted to talk about what give you some updates. Um, the uh, on March 5th, which was last Thursday, we had a community open house. At that open house, we had pretty good attendance at the open house. It wasn't our plan to have the open house before the advisory group meeting, but with the county closure, that's what happened. So again, thank you for your patience and all this changes with the meeting dates. But the open house, we don't really have anything to report back yet. We're still kind of collecting all the feedback that we've received from that. But like I said, it was well attended. We had, I think, about 70 people or so at that meeting. A lot of people giving their feedback. So it was really nice. I know many of you were there, and I appreciate you being there. So thank you. So some of this will be a repeat for you, but I think it's a lot of information. So it's always good, definitely to hear twice. So the next steps will be we're going to have an online survey. So for folks that weren't able to attend that community open house, we will have an online survey. Our intentions are that it will be live this Friday, so people will be able to take that. We will be putting that out via the same channels that we advertise the community open house as well. Um, and then the next advisory group meeting will actually be in April 27th. I am going to, I've planned for that to be in person at the new Franconia Governmental Center. It should be up and running. Their open house is on April 11th, so we should be good to go. That'll be kind of nice to meet there in their new community room. And then after that, I only bring this to your attention. The next meeting would be Monday, May 18th. I'm not sure if that will be in person or if that will be virtual, likely probably virtual. But I just bring it to your attention because that's the third Monday. We have been meeting on the fourth Monday of each month. So with our meeting being moved from February to March, we will not have an additional meeting this month. So the next meeting will be April 27th. So, kind of jumping into the materials tonight. So, at the last meeting, we talked to you all about the draft vision statement and the draft guiding principles, and we got some feedback from you, which we have then revised the vision statement and the guiding principles, and we've had a little bit other feedback too that we've incorporated. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read through all of this, but I've kind of underlined kind of some of those revisions that we've added to the vision statement and also to the guiding principles. So we heard from you all about we had the word kind of green and sustainable in there, and a lot of folks didn't like that right off the bat. But something that was very important to the group was adding the word safe. So we've added that word safe in there and taken out green and sustainable. That is in some of the green and sustainable you can find in some of the guiding principles. And then we've also added attainable housing choices. And then we also heard from you regarding surrounding neighborhoods, adding that into the vision statement. So, a mix of uses to serve residents, employees, and surrounding neighborhoods. And then we also wanted to make sure that, we heard about kind of serving all of the community. So we've added the word inclusive to the vision statement to make sure we're serving kind of planning for all members of the community. Okay, jumping into the draft guiding principles. Again, so for under the land use and development principles, the word that we had before was transit ready. So I think there was some questions about that and maybe a little bit of confusion because that tends to be a little bit more jargony. So we added the concept of design to accommodate current and future transit to enable residents. So basically, kind of changing that out to accommodate current and future transit. And then Gail, I'll get to you in 1 second. I'm just going to go through these really quickly, and I'll go ahead and at the end I'll take your question. And then we also added we didn't really add anything to public spaces and placemaking. We kind of kept this the same, talking about network of public spaces and park experiences, high quality streetscapes, identity and diversity through public art, safety and lighting, and identifying, ensure streets, sidewalks, and public spaces are well maintained, clean, and welcoming. And we talk about identify, preserve, and promote awareness of heritage resources. Mobility and connectivity. These particular principles, we didn't really add anything. We talk about multimodal connectivity. We talk about connecting to the Metro Rail and VRE, and the Springfield CBC commuter garage. We talk about designing streets for all users, including pedestrians, cyclists, transit riders, traffic calming, and then creating smaller blocks and walkable streets. One thing that we did add to the mobility and connectivity was we heard from you all that, or I know we heard from you about one thing was Lake Accotink. So we have added language in here talking about expand and connect trails and greenways in the area and connect them to areas and parks beyond, such as Lake Accotink, Brookfield, Island Creek, and Loisdale parks. So with the idea of the trails and greenways within the study area connecting to those areas beyond the study area. Okay. And then lastly, environment and sustainability. So this just reinforces some of the policies that we already have for resource protection areas, environmental quality corridors and conservation corridors, parks and active green spaces, increased tree canopy cover. And then this is where I was mentioning the climate responsive and resilient building and site design, basically just in accordance with our existing county policies. That is it for kind of going over the vision statement and the guiding principles. Now, Gail, you had a question or a comment?
Oh, I have a couple of them, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
sure.
Yeah, this is going over this pretty quickly, and I've been reading it, and there were some changes. I'm thinking, why were there changes? Why was something left out? Some of the terms that were used. What's attainable housing choices? Affordable. What's attainable mean? For
Attainable is
example.
meaning that housing choices that are attainable for all income levels. So that would be the, broad spectrum. So yes, I mean it can be affordable housing, but it's basically serving all income levels, so that folks, living here and folks moving to the county, this area, would have housing that would be affordable to them.
On the land use and development, you've totally. I don't mean you, Katrina, I mean just in general, this proposed drafting totally let out or left out to preserve and protect stable, low density residential neighborhoods that surround the Franconia Springfield areas. The second bullet point on the left. Why?
Sure. What we're moving towards is, and this is to make it consistent with our policy plan language. So we do this third bullet here is ensure that new development is respectful of existing established neighborhoods through design strategies that minimize impacts. So that's kind of the new kind of wording that we are using, and we wanted to make it consistent with the policy plan so that we're not kind of, and that is just kind of the wording that we're using. We're talking about established neighborhoods and respecting them.
Where is this plan that you're referencing?
The policy plan, we
Yeah.
just sure. The policy plan is there. Those are policies that apply to. It's actually part of our comprehensive plan, but they're policies that apply to the entire county. So they're kind of broad umbrella kind of policies that apply throughout the entire county. And then we have then what we're looking at is more the area plans of the county. So that's where you get into like really the specific area, specific geographies of the county. So when I'm referring to the policy plan, those are those kind of overarching policies that apply to the entire county. And we just recently went through a process where we updated the policies in the policy plan. And so, and what I'm trying to do is that there's a lot of times there's already policies out there in that document that we can refer to. And we just want to make sure if there's something in there, then we don't need to necessarily put it in this section of the plan. In the area plans, we can refer back to it. Or if we want to make sure that we're kind of honing in on something specific, we just want to make sure that it's consistent with the wording that we also have in the policy plan.
Okay, I think I followed what you were saying, but the policy, I haven't seen the policy plan. It's not like I know what you were talking about. All right, and then there was another one, just the one on public spaces and placemaking. Is this express the area's multicultural identity and diversity through public art and other design opportunities? And that's because somebody asked for that to be in there, or what?
No,
Or
I mean,
is
typically
that
we do have policies regarding, public art, and this is again just draft language that we put in there. Um, trying to kind of, that's one of the mechanisms or tools that we can use for placemaking would be, public art and design and expressing, the kind of identity and diversity of the area through public art and design. So creating an identity for the Springfield, for this area is really what that kind of bullet gets at. But we, again, keeping it at a higher level.
Could I ask who's going to be the one to define what the identity and diversity of this Springfield area is?
Well, I mean, it's going to be, Gail, it'll be the community. I mean, it'll be the community. Be when the developers come in, they'll propose things. The community react to those things. It'll be also the county. It just depends on what that thing is that comes in. I think that, you know, sometimes there's public art, sometimes there's private art. And all of those things have a community process attached to them. So I think it again just depends on the process. So, if it's public art, we will always have a community input process for that. When design comes in for buildings, et cetera, those are reviewed. A follow-on process to this scale will be a review of our design guidelines for the area. So that'll be part of that process as well. So it really is going to be established through various different mechanisms that we have.
Katrina, when we were not asked about, I'm sorry, we were told we were going to get murals. I mean, that is not an understatement or an overstatement. We were told we will have murals, and we were given the option of which artist do you like. That was it. That was the input. And I think we did, the people that we put in there did a good job of choosing from the choice, so-called choice we were given. Design opportunities. We have the planning committee, the Franconia Planning Committee, and I know that a couple of things that they've not affirmed, not okay, have gone through anyway. It's like if you don't make the right decision for us, excuse me, we're just going to ignore your input, and that's something that's been just recently. Usually, the planning, uh, the land use. I'm sorry, it's the land use committee has had the respect of the county, and they've listened to them. But that's not been the case of late. And I'm just I don't know. This just seems like they're convinced that they need housing, and they're going to take every available place to put more housing. And I know we had this discussion the other night at the open house, just driving through downtown, if you want to call it downtown Springfield, yesterday. It was all this traffic because the Beltway had an accident on it. Today there was backup traffic again through the side areas here. So
Mhm.
it's not like we need more traffic, and we're going to get more traffic
Well,
if
yeah.
we keep putting things like the giant plaza I saw on one of those diagrams that
Right,
we have
right. I think
housing.
Gail, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We're just kind of getting ahead of ourselves here because we haven't even gotten into the scenarios yet. So, I think why don't we, because when if you don't mind, if we can move forward, because we're going to get into the scenarios and that I think the comment they have there kind of addresses that. So if you don't mind, I'll go. If anybody else, if that's, I'm going to go ahead and move on. And if anybody else has any, comments about any of the guiding principles or any of the vision statement, I'm happy to discuss those. Otherwise, we can move on to the scenarios. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the guiding principles or the? Okay. All right. I didn't see anything else. Okay. Okay, Gail. So when we get to those, we'll be happy to discuss those things. Okay. I am going to, and if anybody has any further questions about these, and at the end, any members of the community that are on this will have time at the end, for questions or comments, but that'll be after, we get through the advisory group members. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing then, and I'm going to go ahead and let Nick take over, and he can start presenting the draft scenarios.
Great. Thank you, Katrina. Are you able to see my screen? Is that sharing?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, it's nice to see everybody again. So like Katrina just mentioned, we're going to go through our draft scenarios here. We do have three of them. Just some quick overview. The idea is really to present and give you all in the community really three different ideas and concepts and approaches to how this area can be approached in the future. So we're really trying to just get different ideas going here and see what really clicks with the community or doesn't. So we'll go ahead and start with our street network. So as a first step to developing the scenarios, we analyzed the existing street network and we created a standard possible proposed street network throughout the study area that could be applied to all the different scenarios that we're going to look at today. So this approach, it builds off the existing street network, um, which you're seeing in the solid purple, and then it introduces a series of new potential connections that you see in the dashed purple. And what this does is it really creates smaller, more walkable blocks and improves the overall connectivity. And then this framework also is going to strengthen the connections down to the metro station and allows for enhanced streetscapes that would improve, comfort and safety for pedestrians throughout the study area. So scenario A, and then I'll just mention before we dive in here, for each scenario, A, B, and C, we'll start with an overall slide like this. We'll describe the overall general concept, and then we'll go in and dive deeper into each section of each scenario. So the CBC, the TSA, et cetera, and we'll do that for each scenario. And then I'll go ahead and briefly just describe the colors that you're seeing in case anyone hasn't had a chance to look at these yet. There's really like three or four main colors that you're seeing here. So the orange represents multifamily land use. Yellow would be single family townhome, and then red is retail or commercial. Where you're seeing the striping means that it could be either or of those land uses. And then there's some more of our obvious ones like green that represents parks and whatnot, but I'll walk us through those. Um, so we'll go ahead and get started with scenario A here. So scenario A focuses on the idea of strategic infill. So select surface parking lots, underutilized sites, vacant parcels could gradually redevelop with mixed-use redevelopment, public spaces, and enhanced streetscapes. The intent would be to introduce new activity and a stronger sense of place while largely maintaining existing uses that would be likely to remain in the medium to long term. So we'll go ahead and dive into some of these sections like I mentioned. So we'll start with the CBC. So zooming in to this area, this scenario really introduces a mix of uses with retail and commercial spaces combined with multifamily residential, and really in an effort to create a more walkable mixed-use corridor in the CBC. You'll see a centrally located town square in the beige there that's positioned between Amherst Avenue and Backlick Road. This could serve as a focal point for the community and establish more of a recognizable gathering place within and along the corridor. Additional public spaces could also include a plaza that would be associated with a redeveloped Brookfield Plaza and also potentially a small park near the commuter garage. Enhanced streetscapes along Commerce Street, Bland Street, Amherst Street, and Backlick Road would also help unify the area, with particular attention given to improving the pedestrian connection along Bland Street, which moves through the Springfield Plaza Shopping Center there as well. We've broken the TSA up into two areas, so we'll walk through the TSA West as well as the TSA East, which obviously moves to the east of this map. So the TSA West area focuses on the Springfield Town Center and the GSA warehouse area. The Springfield Town Center is shown largely as currently entitled, reflecting recent and proposed development. And this is going to be consistent throughout all three scenarios. Surrounding the center, though, and that's what's unique to each scenario here, would be flexible infill opportunities that could introduce a mix of commercial, retail, or multifamily residential uses. There'd be public spaces that are incorporated to support placemaking and activation. More specifically, you'll see a small green space near Forestdale Elementary that really helps strengthen the connections to the adjacent neighborhood. Enhanced streetscapes and traffic calming along Loisdale Road, Frontier Drive, and Springfield Mall Drive will help slow traffic and also encourage pedestrian movement around the area and also towards the metro station. Moving down south to the GSA warehouse area, this would remain largely in place as it stands today. That being said, there is potential for some strategic multifamily infill in that area, which you're seeing in the orange as well as the striped orange and red. This area would also benefit from enhanced trail connections and potential implementation of that Frontier Drive extension project. We're also showing some opportunity for some potential TOD development, transit-oriented development at the metro station for multifamily residential. And then lastly, for scenario A, we're going to move over to TSA East. And this area includes Metro Park, as well as the existing industrial zone area that's east of Springfield Forest. So in this scenario, just small portions of the industrial area could be redeveloped into multifamily residential, and this would be supported by small neighborhood parks and open spaces. There's also potential for the redevelopment or adaptive reuse of existing office buildings into potential hotel uses, and this would help support transit access and nearby activity centers. Similar to lots of the other areas, here there would be a partial new street grid that we would recommend to help organize any future development and improve connectivity. And again, this would improve streetscape enhancements along Walker Lane. So that is our summary of scenario A. So before we move on to scenario B, we did want to stop and just ask if there are any quick questions on the scenario. I do believe we want to hold the bulk of the discussion once we get through all the scenarios, but if there's any quick questions, we'd love to answer those for you all. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to scenario B then. So for scenario B, the overall concept is to create and strengthen connectivity really between district plan areas through new development, green spaces, and public plazas. So you'll see a mix of multifamily residential and mixed use development that's added throughout the area over time. Those a mix of green and open spaces and program plaza spaces. This includes streetscapes and stops for microtransit to improve mobility. At the CBC area for scenario B, you'll see a mix of uses. These are primarily retail, commercial, and multifamily residential, and they're all shown with retail fronting public gathering spaces. Specifically, retail fronts a potential new public open space and plaza at a redeveloped Springfield Plaza and Brookfield Plaza. These spaces can have a variety of uses, but they can have seasonal programs, seating, cafes, food kiosks, etc. New streets again would create walkable and pedestrian-friendly block sizes, and new street connections between Bland Street and the existing Concord Shopping Center would be retail fronted and really create an enhanced streetscape to improve connectivity on that side of the CBC. Moving to the TSA West. So again, the Springfield Town Center is shown the same as it was previously, and this is with currently entitled and recent and proposed development. Across from the town center on either side, we're showing a mix of uses such as commercial, retail, multifamily residential. This would also include a new linear park that starts up by Springfield Elementary. Oh, I'm sorry, Forestdale Elementary, that creates a connection down along the Springfield Forest neighborhood area. Similarly to the other scenarios, the streetscapes in this area would be enhanced, and we're showing the introduction of traffic calming techniques. In this scenario, the GSA warehouse area is shown as redeveloped with a potential single family or multifamily residential neighborhood. This new neighborhood would include a park space with potential retail frontage as well. And then you'll see a strong vegetative buffer that is also shown between I-95 and this new proposed neighborhood. Over at TSA East is again, we're showing a partially redeveloped industrial area down at the south end. This would be single family residential townhomes with a large park on the west side, right by the metro line there. And then similar to the previous scenario, we're proposing a redo of the street grid partially, as well as improvements to Walker Lane. So I will again pause here before we move on to scenario C and ask if there are any quick questions regarding the scenario.
I have a question. Sorry, this is
Yeah.
Gail again. Scenario B. I'm looking at the giant, what we call the giant plaza. Where are the stores that are there now? They're currently there now. The Trader Joe's, the Whole Foods, the Giant, and the small retail shops.
Are you referring to Springfield Plaza?
I am.
Yes, so in this particular scenario, the idea proposes redeveloping that shopping center. You'll see that there is in the striped red, that's commercial use and retail. So retail could move in or back in around that open space.
What size retail? We're talking about three very large stores there that a lot of people frequent. A lot of people come from other areas just to go to that Trader Joe's or the Whole Foods. I don't see any place in that scenario where you could fit those and the retailers like the butcher shop and the jeweler and the places that the current residents would like to keep there. Maybe they could fit in that small little area they have there, but not with. I mean, how can you redo it with and still save those big three? That's so important to the current residents to be able to walk to a store like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or to the smaller stores. You have everything you need within walking distance, but not in this scenario. Not and unless I'm missing something. Am I missing something here?
No, that's understood. And that's kind of the point of this. These are just ideas and we want to hear if it works or if it doesn't. So that's great to hear. Um, and theoretically too, the whole ground floor of these lots that you're seeing could be retail. So I know, you're seeing the retail stripe on the frontage, but you could overtake the whole ground floor of one of these multifamily developments and implement a grocer or keep the grocer there as well. So just something to think about. But thank you. That's a good comment.
And Gail, one thing I would just mention, and I think this is important to keep in mind when we're looking at the various scenarios, like Nick was saying, these are just ideas. I think one thing that we'll be getting into a little bit further along as we get into the impact analysis, and this will be the case not just for Springfield Plaza, but other places throughout both the CBC and the TSA, is we're going to be doing a comparison not just of existing conditions to the ideas that you're seeing on the paper, but the adopted plan, because there is a vision that's already there in the area plans for Springfield today. And right now in Land Unit B, which is Springfield Plaza, there is already a long-term vision that calls for mixed-use redevelopment. So I just want to put that out there. If the community is interested in a different vision, that's totally fine, and we can talk about that. But when we're looking at this, we have this comparative mindset of we have the adopted kind of future vision for the area that the board has already approved. And then what we're looking at is potential changes to that. So it might be different from what we have in the adopted plan, but it might be enhancements to what's in the adopted plan. So I just want to keep that in mind, not just for this site, but for others, because there is, as many of y'all know, there was a Springfield connectivity study that was done in 2009 that produced a whole series of recommendations for transportation as well as for ultimately land use. So I don't need to spend a lot of time on that at the moment, but we'll get into a little bit more of that comparison of adopted plan versus proposed plan, in the coming months as we get further into it.
So
Yeah, and I'll just add to that this is a long-term vision. We're looking at 20, 30 years. So there is always the possibility. Usually that redevelopment will occur when those landowners look at their property and they realize that change might be needed. And so we're trying to look at the plan for flexibility for the future so that these property owners can redevelop their property if retail is no longer serving their needs, or if some of the retail and they want to introduce multifamily. It doesn't mean that all of the retail goes away. It might change in some manner. And so the plan allows for that additional kind of flexibility.
So truth be told, if you look at any of these plans, really, we're looking at an urbanization of Springfield, of central Springfield. There's no longer going to be suburban Springfield. It's going to be an urbanization, maybe a mosaic type thing that I'm seeing proposed. Is that accurate?
It would introduce some residential and yes, I mean, they would be definitely at higher intensities or densities than you currently see, because that is typically what you see with redevelopment, especially at a larger scale when we're looking at kind of going through that rezoning and that type of thing. So again, these are options. We typically put options in the plan, and folks can always redevelop at kind of a lower option, but we allow for that option because we're trying to create, and looking at this is a place that's more pedestrian friendly, that's more bicycle friendly, kind of a place that utilizes the transit that's there right now. That's kind of what these kind of ideas put out there. Okay, Nick, I guess I don't know if anybody else has any other questions.
Sure. All right. So scenario C, this is our last scenario we have to present tonight. So scenario C focuses on the creation of neighborhood nodes throughout the district areas. These nodes would enhance placemaking and can be the focal point for future mixed use and residential development. So the nodes would be landscape plazas for gathering, and we would potentially transform surface parking and underutilized parcels into neighborhood amenities. Um, in this scenario, multi-family housing opportunities are shown throughout. And again, a finer grained network of walkable streets and blocks would also be created here to enhance that connectivity. The CBC area in this scenario has a mix of uses such as retail, commercial, multifamily residential. These uses create neighborhoods with retail that would front gathering and open space nodes. So specifically, these neighborhood nodes are located at the Springfield Plaza location. You'll see south of the current Concord Shopping Center. You'll see one there, and as well at Brookfield Plaza. So these nodes would be a combination of plazas and green spaces and potential areas for recreational activity. And then again, similar to some of our past scenarios, new streets would create more walkable and pedestrian-friendly block sizes with streetscape enhancement shown throughout. So again, TSA West, like the past scenarios, the town center is shown as currently entitled and reflecting any recent and proposed development. Multifamily residential is shown on either side of the town center with a plaza and a green space that could be surrounded by ground floor retail to create a neighborhood node that is east of Frontier Drive between Springfield Forest neighborhood there. And then the GSA warehouse property is reimagined into a new neighborhood with possible single family and or townhomes, also multifamily or a combination of all these three. Mixed use multifamily with retail would connect to the Metro and Frontier Drive there. And then you'll see a large central park would be the focal point of this neighborhood and would be framed by the new development.
So when you all mentioned that you will be updating all this plan based on the community input from the March 5 meeting, or whenever, the open house was, because there are some things that you're mentioning that our community is definitely against. And going back to the comment about the urbanization of Springfield, the concern that our community has is not so much what could happen in business districts, but what can happen into the neighborhoods that will definitely be affected either by your proposed concepts of linking our communities into these business districts, et cetera. So I just want to make sure that we are considering that everyone understands that what you're going through this evening was some of it was not well adopted or thought about by our neighborhood at Springfield Forest, and we'll definitely need much more work and comment.
Yeah, thanks, Linda. I'll just mention we also have, a survey that's going to be coming out. So that's like an additional
Right.
option for folks who weren't able to come on the 5th, and we'll be considering the input from that as well. And again, this is not the end of like comment that we're like, again, we got to put ideas out there for people to
Sure.
kind of react to, and we're gonna and we heard loud and clear from your neighbor, from the folks who came regarding your concerns with the area adjacent to your neighborhood. So
All right, thank you.
sure.
Hey, Katrina, this is Eric Christensen. Question:
Yes.
What are the economic factors that are behind the drive for this the redevelopment? Are there factors saying, yeah, we really need this increased residential? Like, what is it? Like, what is driving all?
Well, first of all, this area is one of the activity centers in the county. So both the TSA and the CBC, and that is from county policy, that is where we typically concentrate our higher intensities because they have, transit is available in this area. I mean, we have the Metro, we have the CBC garage, we have VRE, we have lots of bus transit. We also recognize the need for additional housing in the county. So that's one of the kind of impetus. And also, we have not looked at this plan for over, it's been over 15 years since we've, looked at this plan. We can see that there's some properties in this area that really need some revitalization. So it's kind of a multifaceted reason, I guess, for looking at this particular area. And it's also clear, you have a lot of transit available. So there is the possibility of locating, more multifamily housing in this area. So, because there really hasn't been much other than, again, the new multifamily building at the town center. It's been 2 decades since we've seen any multifamily development in the area. So that was really another one of the rationales too.
And Eric, just to pick up on what Katrina was mentioning, you asked about the economics. One thing that is actually really kind of neat is we had the Economic Development Authority for Fairfax County had a study that was commissioned back in 2022. And that looked at our geography that we're dealing with here, both the Springfield side as well as the Franconia Springfield transit station area. And that had a number of recommendations for various land uses in various sectors. So it looked at multifamily, it looked at retail, looked at industrial, hotel. And it's from 2022, so you can take some of the exact numbers with a grain of salt that, obviously things have transpired since then, but it had some good takeaways, and the takeaways also had some relevant recommendations for how we might change the comprehensive plan to try to enable and try to capture some of the market demand that's underutilized and untapped basically so far. I can send that to y'all. Katrina may have already sent it out, but I'd be happy to re-forward it to the advisory group just so you can have it as a reference point. It's not looking 20 years out, which is what our time horizon is. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. It's looking a little bit more near term. So some of the numbers that you'll see in the report will speak to, hey, in 10 years, we think that there's a projected demand for X. That's not quite equivalent to what we do in comprehensive planning. We need to go much higher in order to capture some of that projected demand because our time horizon is a lot longer. So I can forward that around to the advisory group so you can take a look at it because I think it has some good findings in there that are relevant to what we're doing with this planning exercise.
Graham, I'm
Yeah,
glad
no,
you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm familiar with that study that was done. And the world has kind of dramatically shifted since that study was initiated. We opened up the commuter garage. Is it being utilized as the way it was originally envisioned when it was developed? Are we seeing, metro traffic the way it was originally envisioned? Are we seeing that demand there?
I think it's a great question for probably our first transportation study. So we'll take note of those questions and we can get back to you probably in the context of when we're presenting on the traffic and transportation study, probably in a couple months.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Graham, I don't think that I think anybody would tell you that that commuter garage is not where they thought it would be. But the other thing, I wanted to thank Eric for bringing it up. What is the drive for this? I looked at that study that was done several years ago. The supervisor Lusk, I think, was the one who was behind that. And we've already, if you put in the housing that's being proposed for the Amherst Backlick area there, where Merv's Corner is, that already exceeds what they called for. So I don't, and I know that the previous Katrina, the other comprehensive, or maybe it was Grant that mentioned the other comprehensive plan from 15 years ago did envision housing of some sort over there in the giant plaza. But I don't think we need to build on every possible piece of land and change the whole character. I'd like to know who's driving it, whether it's just taxes or what, because these places that are going up, the proposed places that are going up, are not building anyone's equity. They're not really building a neighborhood. All they're doing, as far as I can see, is just increasing our traffic. So,
Thanks, Gail.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and
Real quick,
Mark,
Katrina, just
yeah.
real quick. Gail, yeah, and I'd be happy to talk with you offline about the study findings, but I just want to make sure it's clear. The projected demand in that EDA study should not be equated with what we're doing in terms of comprehensive plan potential. You need a lot more comprehensive plan potential in order to capture that projected demand. But I'm happy to chat with you offline about that because it gets really technical really quickly. But we did follow up with the author of the study about that exact question, and he had some good guidance, not just for us, but for anybody that's interested. So it's worthy of probably a different conversation just to make sure everybody kind of gets how they put those projections together.
Okay. I know Marta had her hand up for a while. So Marta, if you want to go ahead and. Are you there, Marta? Okay. Tasha then. I'll go into Tasha and I can come back to Marta.
Yeah, thanks, Katrina. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I guess one of the questions, and maybe this can help me provide clarity, because to Gail and some of the others' points, it is a lot of adds to our community, and not saying that all are bad and good, and additions are good, not an extensive amount. I guess my understanding is when you guys are talking about this, and obviously this is like 20 years down the road. Is this something where we start on certain sections and it's more of like a slower integration and there's a stop and saying, hey, let's do a pulse check and make sure that this is right? Or like, hey, we decide now and we're just going to bulldoze through. Like, is there going to be any reconsideration? This is my first time being on the civic committee, so I apologize if that's a silly question. But to Gail and everybody else's point, who's just concerned about traffic and the community and all these things, is that the plan right now may be one thing, but like, you never know what the future holds and something could drastically change.
Sure. Well, tell you what we will do with whatever scenario that we come up with, we will do transportation analysis for that. And we will see how that turns out and how the proposed network can handle that, et cetera. So there will be a transportation analysis done part of the study. Now, in addition to that, we have to realize that almost every single parcel in the county has some sort of land use that it's planned for. And often they has multiples. So they're kind of flexibility options. They have kind of a base plan, and then there's an option maybe for higher intensity. Now, we don't envision that we have to show all of these parcels as planned a certain way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to come in tomorrow. So probably what would happen is this would happen over time, and certain parcels would come in first, and they develop. And as part of those, usually they have to go through what we refer to as an entitlement process. So through a rezoning, because they would have to rezone the property. And then as part of that, they would have to do their individual transportation analysis to determine how, the property would impact the network again. So again, this is going to happen over time, and there's going to be lots of analysis done. Now, with this kind of level of with kind of like with this type of development, we would also envision that there would be higher transit usage. This is in our TOD areas. That's a term that Nick used earlier, TOD. And those are areas where we look at planning the higher intensities within a quarter to half a mile of those stations. And we envision heavier transit usage in the area. I'm not saying people are gonna all of a sudden not use their cars, but they will be heavier transit users. So with all of that, those are kind of all the pieces that we use, and then that kind of come into play when we're doing these kind of planning studies and when the areas start to redevelop.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate it. I just to have a little bit of clarity to know that there's going to be some things, because I think that's the other thing too, is that these things sound great, but then when you do some of these other studies, you can find that, while we may think, hey, TSA West, where, that may be the fan of everything, but then economically or the transit study, it just may not work. I would just be curious to see how kind of that all kind of comes together, but I guess we'll wait and see. But thank you. I appreciate the clarity in the question.
Sure. Okay, so Marta just said she was having trouble unmuting. So she has her question in the chat. The study referred to, I think she's referring to the market study, estimated that 10,000 units would be needed in the next 10 years to meet the housing needs. Can you give us an estimate of how many units would be represented in each of the three concepts we are talking about tonight, which represent 20 to 25 years out? We haven't gotten to that level of detail. That's kind of like that's the next step, where what we will do is we will make assumptions, and we will quantify the scenarios. That way we can do some initial kind of transportation analysis light, I would say. So we can kind of test the three scenarios just to kind of get a general idea of what we're looking at as far as traffic generation from the different scenarios. And then that'll kind of tell us like, oh yeah, no, that won't work, or that will work, or kind of gives us that, but it's not a full-blown transportation study. What we then will do is, once we get the final scenario, that's when we will do the full-blown transportation analysis. But along the way, for each of these, we will have to do a quantification, which will tell us the number of units, the square footage for the commercial, et cetera. Okay. Let's see here. Jim. I'm sorry, you're still muted, Jim.
There.
There you go.
That better?
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, you're good.
Somebody asked earlier, and I did not hear the answer to this question, was whether you were going to do something with these scenarios that was going to be pulled together and put in some form that we could then look at more closely. I did not hear an answer to that question. I regret that I couldn't come to the March 5th meeting. I was not available that day. I did dispatch my wife to come, and she brought home some of these maps. But the maps that she brought home, I could not read any street names on any of them, and I could also not really read the words after the little scenario blocks, that the colored blocks that are on the maps. Is there something like that and I can't read them on my screen tonight in this Zoom form.
Sure.
Maybe it's my eyes. I just went to the ophthalmologist today, and I was told I was doing pretty well, but not well enough, obviously.
Not you, Jim.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Yeah. So yeah, we like I sent out some links that have the boards. And so those I can resend those as well. They're on the I don't know if any of my partners in crime here from DPD could go to the project website and pull in those links, put those in the chat for me. That would be great. Uh, for the boards from the meeting the other
Yeah,
evening.
yeah.
And then so those are available online so that you can look on your computer and kind of zoom in and zoom
Okay.
out.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
what she brought back was 8.5 by 11, and
Yeah. No, no,
yeah,
no. Yeah.
and
Yeah. It is.
I could not read the
Sure.
details. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that was basically just to kind of give people, something on paper to kind of look at, but
got
then
it.
while they're looking at the boards,
Okay.
as well. And then we will also have this presentation available to you all. Well, I gave you the PDF, I guess. So in the PDF, if you're able to zoom in on that as well. So, yeah, we have those are the two things that are available right now.
Okay. I did see what you sent, and I didn't know that I could enlarge it in any way. So, but yeah, I'll give that a try.
Okay. All right. Um, any other questions from the group? Um, um, okay. I don't know if any, I just want to make sure that everybody, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them. Let me see if I could find quickly the
While you're
okay.
looking for that, I would be interested in the study, Graham, that you were talking about. I would be curious to, I know that's maybe, it maybe not be 100% applicable, but I would still be curious to see it.
Certainly. No, we'll send it around to the whole group. It is highly relevant in terms of the uses and kind of the broad kind of tendencies and recommendations. So yeah, happy to forward that around.
Yeah, and I can find
Mhm.
that really quick. Sorry.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I drop it in the chat, but unfortunately, oh, now I can. Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat so everybody's got a copy of it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Katrina, can I ask what happens after this as far as, well, you go over this, we have another meeting, and then what happens? This goes to the planning commission or what?
No, Gail, we've got a long time. We got a long time before that. So, what the next steps kind of are is that we still, we're probably going to be getting feedback on these three scenarios probably through mid-April. We're going to be working on from the community. We will be working on kind of, as I mentioned, quantifying these plans and doing some just kind of initial transportation analysis just to kind of we just call it sensitivity testing. That's a very jargony term for it, but just doing some initial testing. We then will be taking all of kind of that input from the community and kind of taking the bits and pieces from all these scenarios and kind of coalescing them into kind of one final vision plan that we then again will present to you all and to the community, getting feedback from everybody on that, and then eventually we will have a final vision plan. Now that is not the end of the process. That is just a vision plan that we have, and then what staff will have to do is take that kind of final scenario. Again, we're going to put numbers to it. We're going to know we're going to know the number of units. We're going to know the locations of those units, that square footage of the retail, or whatever kind of use it will be. And we will have staff from all the various different departments that usually, we'll have obviously transportation looking at it. We'll be looking at it from the land use perspective. We're going to have our parks folks looking at it. We're going to have folks from our, looking at the sewer capacity, looking just all of that kind of infrastructure as well. We'll have they'll be looking at that as well and providing us comments and providing us feedback on that in looking at that. And then that's, a staff process, and that's where we'll start drafting actual plan text that will actually go into the comprehensive plan. But again, that's going to go, we'll have many, we're going to be coming back to you all, getting your input on kind of that draft text that's derived from the vision plan. And then we'll be going back out to the community, getting community input on that. We're going to be doing that transportation analysis. And then, so there's a long road ahead before it goes to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Supervisors. I wouldn't imagine that wouldn't happen until the beginning of maybe first quarter or so of 2027. So, that's like a year away from now. So there's a lot of inputs that will go into it. Tasha had her hand up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to react there, but Tasha?
Nope, actually, it just popped through. I was like, whatever Graham sent, it didn't come through. So there it goes. All right, I see it. We're good. That's
okay.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Oh, and I think I accidentally put this in the wrong. Did you get the boards in there, Graham? I'm sorry, I actually sent that into the wrong chat.
I'll do that next. Yeah, all of a sudden the chat's enabled so I can do stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
1 second.
I
Okay.
just put something in from the community meeting number 4. That should be the boards, I believe. No?
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
So, Katrina,
yeah.
a couple of things. Jim, it wasn't your eyes. I think everybody came away from that meeting, and even from these slides, I have it on my computer. It's practically impossible to read the legend or the street. There aren't street names anywhere, and that would have been so helpful to see street names just to get a better idea of where things are. But a real concern I have is, you have 3 scenarios. What if the community says, well, we really don't like any of these scenarios? Are you going to give them that choice to have another scenario that keeps things more the same as they are? Or is it going to be, well, take your pick of these 3 with some concessions on this or that concept? And then you say, well, the community wanted this. Do you know what I mean? It just,
Right. Well, there is ability in all of the feedback to submit like other comments as well. And I guess if everybody across the board said they did not like something, we would have to consider that and it kind of go back to the drawing board. But so again, the we'll be considering all of the feedback in this process.
thanks.
Mhm. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay. I can open it also to, I don't know if any members of the public that are here, if they have any comments or questions, I can take a few minutes and open that up to anybody, if anybody amongst the public has any questions. It's here. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming this evening. I would imagine that, so our kind of next steps would be, I mentioned that we have the survey that's coming out. And then we will have, the next meeting will be April 27th of the advisory group. We're going to do that in person. We will be providing you all with what we've, heard to this point from the community. So you'll have that input, and I have to kind of gauge how the schedule is as far as what's going what we're going to be able to present on the 27th. But I know we'll, be able to present kind of the some of the outcome of what we've heard from the community. So just stay tuned as far as the full agenda for that. So, all right. Well, I appreciate everybody showing up tonight and taking your evening, especially since it's such beautiful weather out there. And we look forward to seeing everybody, in person, and we'll get to see the new facility at the Franconia Governmental Center. So, all right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Have
everyone.
a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.